Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the OPT Network. You know, I know that we have been talking a lot about a word that most of us can't even say, suicide. In fact, most of us feel that it'll never affect or touch our family or anyone that we love, but it could not be any farther from the truth. Our guest this morning has been touched by suicide in a profound way and has used the heaviness and the weight of suicide to be the change that he wants to see in other families' lives. He is Andy Dixon. He and his wife, Angie, are the founders of Save Sin-Law, which is a local nonprofit organization that is dedicated to the spread of mental awareness and suicide prevention. We welcome Andy to the OPT Network for the very first time. Andy, good morning and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, Andy, this is something that we all hear about. It happens to other families. But the fact of the matter is, most of us, we hope and we even believe that it'll never happen to our family. So I want you to rewind back to your son.
Yes, ma'am. Adam was almost a straight A student in school. He played he was in the band. He played soccer. He ran cross country. He was one of those kids, pinch your cheeks, hug you all the time, make everybody laugh kids. Just a great kid. He had his own lawn service. He had about 15 yards that he cut. And his customers loved him. He was just a great kid, and somewhere around 16 years old, he started acting up.
And at 16, when he's acting up, do you think that that's that time where he's just going through that sort of rebellious stage, the hormones?
Yes, ma'am. That is exactly what I thought. I thought he was going through puberty. His oldest brother is 4 years older than him. He had went off to college. So I thought Adam was trying to grow up too fast. Mm-hmm. My wife, Angie, she kind of knew there were signs further back. Mm-hmm. We didn't know what was wrong. Angie had brought him to the doctor, throughout his life when he was little, to try to figure out what was wrong. He had phantom pains, but
so they weren't real pains.
They weren't real. Well, to him they were.
Right.
But they never could find. And he had a lot of real pains too. Mm-hmm. But
did Angie, as a mom, you said she kind of knew. Was she sort of intuitively connected to maybe there's a sadness, maybe there's something deeper?
Yeah, she did know. I kind of was the man. The man, and I didn't really see it. I thought that was just his personality. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she did see it.
Mm-hmm. And so when she saw it, and she brought it to you, did you just think, or assure her that this is going to pass?
That's exactly what I did. I kept doing that. And like I said, when he was around 16, he started acting out, getting into some trouble, doing things Adam would have never done before.
Okay, so when he starts acting out, and this is not characteristic of his personality, you start to think what then, you as dad?
Puberty.
Okay.
He's becoming a man. He's testing his boundaries.
Okay. But then it goes a little bit further than that.
Then it goes further. You had a pretty little girl in the mix. He starts sneaking out the window. And I tried talking to him, and she tried talking to him, having, calm, real good conversations with him. But we never could get anything out of him. Mm-hmm. So we decided to send him to the National Guard Youth Challenge Program.
Mm-hmm. Does this help? Does this seem to help?
It seemed to help. He went over there and did fantastic. He made almost the highest honors they have. He earned a scholarship. He made so high on his ACT test. Mm-hmm. Louisiana Tech was calling us. They wanted him to enroll. They made him a junior counselor while he was there. And I asked him, Adam, are you able to help some of those kids? And he said, oh, Daddy, he said, those kids are my age. They're not going to listen to me. So, but after he died, mm-hmm. he came home 2 months. He was home 2 months and everything was perfect. He was great.
Do you think in hindsight that Adam had an issue with perfection where he wanted to do everything so well that it became maybe too much?
He wasn't a perfectionist like cleaning his room.
Most of them are not.
He did try very hard at everything he did. I don't think he was OCD or anything like that. But he did try very hard at everything he did. But he didn't feel like he was good at anything that he did. He never bragged on himself. Never
wanted attention.
Never wanted attention. He was the kid that loved to play video games, and he was just as happy sitting watching his friends play than when he was playing it himself.
And so after he finished with the Youth Challenge program and he comes home, do you and Angie sort of have a relief that we're past this?
Oh, definitely. Angie's dad was sick at the time. He needed a lung transplant. So Angie was having to go to Houston a lot with him. And I was working. I'm an over-the-road truck driver. So Adam was actually taking care of his 3 younger sisters, getting them off to school, fixing their lunches, getting them supper when they came home. And he was going to the community college in Cottonport for welding classes. It was awesome. He was the old Adam again, just doing great.
And so when are you all starting to see that, or are you starting to see that something is a little bit off?
Did not. The last week I spent every day with him. And I could see he was a little upset about something, but he wouldn't tell me, and I'm thinking it's with a girl,
and so you're just thinking it's normal. He's having
normal.
girl problems.
That's it.
And that'll pass.
I'm trying to fix it. I'm a dad trying to fix it. But I had no idea
how deep it was.
How deep it was.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a break here, but when we come back, we'll have more of Andy's and Angie's story about their son, Adam, but more importantly, what we as parents and teachers and leaders need to understand and look for as it pertains to suicide. Stay on point. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. Our guest this morning is Andy Dixon. And at the top of the show, I mentioned that Andy and his wife are co-founders. There are also another couple that have come together and founded Save Sinlaw with Andy and his wife, and that is Jackie and Anthony Bourdon. And they understand suicide as well, as they lost a child. And so you guys kind of came together.
Yes, ma'am. God led us together, and we decided to form Save Sinlaw to help spread mental health awareness, suicide prevention, to try to break that stigma that surrounds it, so that our loved ones can feel safe coming to us and telling us.
And so when we look back at Adam's life, and as the mental break was starting to happen, you thought it was just relational with his girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And so when you have that conversation with him about his girlfriend, what does he say about that?
Actually, he just let me talk about it. I don't think it was about the girl at all now. I just started running my mouth trying to fix it for him instead of listening to what he had to say. And that was my mistake. I didn't listen to what he had to say about it.
And then so when you all leave that conversation, what happens?
He seemed to be okay. He was smiling, and whether he was pretending or not, I don't know.
But you felt you had a peace about it. You felt like
yes,
we've
ma'am.
talked about it. We're good. He's good.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I felt like.
And then when you leave that conversation, is there more of a decline in his emotion that you can notice?
No, actually, we had that conversation, and he went off to help his uncle run some crawfish traps. And that's when he came home with a sack of crawfish to go boil them at the camp. And he was happy. In fact, he was so happy, I actually thought then, he's not even touching the ground. He's so happy. And I was cutting grass, and he pulled up on the golf cart, and we probably talked 30, 45 minutes.
What'd y'all talk about? Do you remember?
Just everything, riding horses. He was going camping, boiled a crawfish. And I said, man, I wish we were boiling those over here. He said, oh, Daddy, if there's any left, I'm going to bring you home a little taste. And
You felt good about it.
Oh, yeah. Actually, while we were talking, I said, he's changed so much. I said, I'm talking to a grown man. I mean, Adam was a grown-up.
Right.
And it was amazing. When he drove off, he was smiling and laughing. Because when he was backing out of the carport, I said, hey, hey, hey. And he grabbed his seatbelt. He started pulling on it. I got it on. Because that's my thing. All those kids, mine or not, when they leave my house, I'm making sure they got their seatbelts on. And
so he's headed to the camp.
He's headed to the camp, and he's happy. He's laughing. That's the last I saw him alive. He was smiling. And
then so he goes to the camp, and he's going to have some friends over. They're going to boil crawfish. And you're thinking, all is well.
All is well.
But all is not well.
No.
And so when do you get an indication that all is not well?
I didn't until I drove up at the camp and found him.
Why did you drive to the camp?
I'm going to say the Holy Spirit told me to go.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I was working on my generator, and I really just dropped my wrench.
Just out of nowhere?
Out of nowhere.
Did you hear that still small voice to say check?
I'm not sure what I heard. It was just like an urge to go check on him. And I was just in my truck. Now, driving there...
How did you feel?
I didn't think anything bad was wrong. I can't explain it. I didn't pull up at the camp thinking something was wrong.
Right.
But
so had he not responded, to your phone call, or?
No, ma'am. He just wasn't home when he was supposed to be home, because we had talked at 8:30 that morning, and he said they were leaving. He had to bring his friends home and come back. So he was past due from being home.
Mm-hmm. How long you think past?
That was probably an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get this urge that you just have to go.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you get in the truck and you go. And when you go, you're not. Is there any ominous feelings? Are you
no, ma'am.
Nothing?
No, ma'am. It was just, I just needed to go.
Just needed to go. And so you get there.
I get there.
And when you get there, you think what? What happens when you get there?
I just thought they were drinking.
Right.
And when I saw the bottom part of his legs, I thought maybe they had drank and he was hungover. He was taking a nap on the porch, and then I took a couple more steps, and then that was it. I saw the rifle, saw him laying there. His face was blue. I called 911. They were getting me to check for a pulse, and I was shaking so bad I wouldn't have been able to tell if he did or not. When I hung up with 911, they were on their way. I called my wife. She was in Houston with her dad. How
do you tell your wife what has happened?
Actually, I was a coward. I didn't tell my wife. I told my sister-in-law, they were together, and she told my wife. And so then my wife got on the phone, and I knelt down by Adam, and we prayed together with Adam for Adam. And then when I hung up with her, I laid down next to him. I held his hand.
What do you say to him in that moment?
I actually talked to him like he was right there, like he was still with me. I don't remember what I said.
Did you know at that moment that he was already gone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I knew he was gone. His face was cold and blue. I felt on his stomach, but his stomach was still warm. I had just missed it,
You just got there a little bit too late.
I got there too late. As I'm laying there with him, I keep smelling his neck with deep breaths, trying to burn the memory of his smell into my brain, so I'll never forget it.
Can you smell it at that time?
Yes, and
still had the smell.
And I do smell him every once on occasions. I can smell him.
Do you ask him at that moment why?
Well, that letter I talked about earlier, that was his reason why. I think God set the answer up in that letter. God set it up a year in advance for us to get that answer. And I believe God did that because a lot of parents don't get that answer.
Right.
I think he did that because he was starting to prepare Angie and I to go into the suicide prevention work that we were going to go into. He led us into that.
And so, were you glad that you were the one who found Adam?
Yes. I know that's hard maybe to understand, but as his dad, I wouldn't have wanted anybody else to find him. I am glad that I got to spend, I was the one there to spend those last moments, to wait for emergency response to get there.
Wow. Hey everybody, we got to get a break here, but when we come back, we'll have more of Andy's story and we'll tell you what they, through Save Sinla, are doing to be the change that they want to see in every family. Stay on point. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. Our guest this morning is Andy Dixon, and he is such a courageous and a man of faith. He and his family, and also the co-founders, Anthony and Jackie Bourdlaw, who have come together to share their story in hopes that they will be able to help other families. And so, Andy, we can't thank you enough, because we can only imagine how tough it is, and that hole that will forever be
Yes, ma'am.
in your soul. And so after you find Adam and you go through all of the rituals of laying him to rest, sometime later you receive a letter.
Yes, ma'am. About a month after he dies, we receive a letter, and he had attended a leadership camp a year before.
But before the letter though, when you and Angie come together and you understand the gravity of what has just happened in your family, do you ask each other, what happened? What did we miss? How did this happen?
Oh, yes, ma'am. That was, thank God we didn't blame each other.
Right.
It actually pulled us together, because a lot of families pull apart at that time.
Right.
We actually pulled together. We pushed all the furniture in our living room to the walls. We threw all our mattresses from all our kids' room in the living room, and we all slept together for about a month and a half, until me and my oldest son finally, we had to go back to work. And so we really pulled together. Mm-hmm. But that why, what happened, what did we miss? Yeah, that was 1,000 times a day.
So then when you get that letter and you notice immediately that it's Adam's handwriting, what do you think?
Oh, I'm standing at the mailbox and I'm shaking, because I'm thinking, is this a suicide note? Why did it take a month to get to me?
Right. And
I couldn't open it. I didn't have the courage to open it. I handed it to my wife, and she opened it up. And like I told you, the first line on it, Adam says, I know this letter won't find you any better than you are right now. He talks about depression. He knows he is fighting depression, and he is using his pain to help other people. This boy is 16 years old, and he is using his pain to help other people. And out of his wake, we had, I'm going to say 20 people, but I was in a different world at that time. Well, we had a lot of people come to us, from younger than Adam to grown-ups, and tell us how much Adam had helped them through something. One young man, Adam had went to welding school with him in Cottonport. This young man tells us him and Adam had never hung out anywhere together. They had never even went to the store to get a Coke together. They just talked in class. And he tells us, Adam saved me. But he couldn't, he was too devastated to finish the story. His dad was actually holding him up. And I was in a different world. And this young man told me his name, told me his Facebook page, but I can't remember it. So I'm praying now that God sets that meeting up between us, so that I can get the rest of that story. And I can thank him for telling me that.
Wow. And so, as you read on in the letter, does it give you and Angie, and their family have 5 children, does it give y'all solace?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Because now we know why he did it. You know, we know depression. Adam had depression. So we now know that Adam didn't take his own life. Depression took it from him.
Right.
Just like heart disease took my daddy from me.
Yes.
Just like cancer took 2 of my brothers from me. Depression took Adam's life from him.
That's a good way of looking at it. Depression took it.
Depression took it from him.
And so at some point before you got the letter, do you question God? Do you question your faith?
We never got mad at God, but question him, yes, I did. Lots of questions. The why. I did get mad at God at one point for about 15 minutes, and then he showed me something to say, hey, I am here. And
what did he show you?
All right, so I'm a truck driver, and I haul oversized loads. I go into Kansas, and I get off route. You got to stay on a certain route. And I missed my exit. So I get a $550 ticket.
$550?
For being off route. While the man's giving me the ticket, I cried from daylight, from the moment I woke up in the morning, cried myself asleep at night every night. So while this man is giving me this ticket, I'm holding back tears, holding back the anger. As I'm walking back to my truck, I started getting mad at God because I had just been off for a month and a half. I'm way behind on my bills.
And now I have a $550 ticket.
Now all the extra money I had was supposed to make on this load now is going to a ticket. And by the time I climbed in my truck, I started yelling at God. I have a rosary that my oldest son gave me back when he was in 8th grade. Some other medals. When Adam died, we got some little palm wooden crosses to hold in our hands. I had all that. I took all of it. I threw it in the back of my sleeper. I said, God, I know you're there, but obviously you don't care about me anymore. And I yelled. I was yelling. And one of the things I yelled to him was, why did you give me Adam? For me to spend 17 years, all the soccer, baseball, everything we did for him, to just waste it by taking him by suicide. So this went on for about 15 minutes, and I'm driving. And as I come into a little town, it's called Wellington, Kansas. I'm coming into this town, and there is a bank clock that shows the time and the temperature. As I'm pulling up to this clock, a message flashes across of it. And it says, whatever you do for your kids is never wasted. Exactly what I had been yelling at God about. So I saw the message. I pass it up, but I have an oversized load. I can't see behind me. I can't stop to go back and look at the sign because I'm taking up the whole road. But when I got to the next town, I pulled over and I got my cross and my rosary, and I put all that back in place, and I quit yelling at God. He had showed me that he was there. I believe that was a message from God to tell me I am here, and you did what you were supposed to do with your son.
Right. And so how do your other 4 children deal with Adam's death? They
all dealt with it in different ways. Angie and I made sure that we talk about Adam, and we made sure that they knew that we could talk about Adam. We watched his favorite movies all the time. We all make his funny little sayings he used to say. I'll catch the kids making the same facial expressions he used to make. We all struggled with it in our different ways.
And so, we just talked to Kay Warren not long ago about this same thing, and she said there's always a longing, always a missing of your children. How then do you take the missing, the grief, the longing, all the bevy of emotions, and turn it into a mission? When does that happen?
I still reach for my phone every once in a while to call Adam because I haven't talked to Adam in a while, and I catch myself reaching for my phone. But Romans 8:28, and I just lost it. For God, well, For God turns all things to good for those who love God, to those who are called to His purpose. That scripture right there, that is exactly what God has done. I can say that now. I couldn't say it then. But He started leading us. You know, when Jesus said, you must become like a little child, that is exactly how I felt, because that's what you have to do. And I feel like a little child. God led us around, preparing us to go into suicide prevention work.
Hold that thought. Let me get a break here, y'all, but we'll be back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. I'm going to tell you, these conversations don't get any easier, but they are absolutely necessary. And when you look at your life and your family's life, and you probably thought over the years, it's happened, we've seen it, but it's not going to happen to anybody in my family.
That's exactly what I thought. It'll never happen to me or anybody in my family. We did everything together, prayed together, ate together, rode horses together. Everything we did as a family. Even when Angie and I would go out on date nights, we'd bring all the kids with us.
Date night wasn't even date night, because it was kid night.
That's right, because we like to be together. Most of the time, anyway.
Sure.
And I never thought that would have come into my house, but I was wrong. You know, suicide not only came into my house, it lived in my house.
My God.
It ate at our dining room table. It sat in our living room when we watched TV. It came to Forest Hill when we rode horses. It was with us for over a year that I know about, you know.
And it was a spirit. It was a principality that was living in your house and you didn't even know.
That's right. Yep.
And so, when do you and your wife know that when you get that scripture, that God is tasking you with sharing this with other families? When do you know?
God led Angie and I to meet Jackie and Anthony Boydlaw.
How did that meeting happen?
One of my sister-in-laws had met her. Jackie and Anthony were putting on a walk for a national organization. They were chairing it. And my sister-in-law met Jackie, and she called me. She said, Andy, you got to meet this lady. So Angie and I met with Jackie and Anthony, and we just decided enough is enough. We're going to do something. And so Angie and I became chairs with them.
Was there some shame involved? Did you ever feel a little bit of shame?
For me, no. I never tried to hide it. I mean, this is what happened. We're going to get it out in the open. And then we decided to fight it.
Right, because you didn't do anything wrong.
No, and Adam didn't do anything wrong.
And Adam didn't do anything. But don't, as parents, we look at ourselves, and if our kids don't do just the right thing, or just, all of the things that we had hoped, we think, where did we go wrong?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now, I did ask my question, that question to myself a lot.
But we do the best that we know how.
Yes, ma'am. We do.
And so then you and Angie, your wife, and Anthony and Jackie, and y'all come together, and y'all really have a lot in common in terms of losing your children.
Yes, ma'am. And God led us. We had like 2 months to put this walk together, and God led us every step of the way. We had over 800 people show up.
Wow. A
lot of mental health resources come out. So in January of the next year, we decided to form our own local nonprofit organization called Save Sin Law. And because this is homegrown, we can spend the money in Central Louisiana.
You can do what you want to do with it.
That's right. So.
But before that, then when do you decide that you're going to start taking classes to understand it so that you can help other families? How does that happen?
God. He led us to a program called ASSIST, and that stands for Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. So we take this class, and as I'm sitting in the class, I'm realizing everything they're telling me, all the signs Adam showed.
Oh, so now you see it.
Now I see it. I saw that when I had those conversations with Adam, I wasn't talking to him in the right way. I wasn't listening to him.
And you weren't asking the right question.
That's it. I wasn't asking the right question. And I
think it's important, though, to let people know, Andy, that he wasn't a child that you weren't talking to. He hadn't shut down.
No, he had not.
You know, he was talking. You just didn't know the right questions.
Didn't know the right question. So we talked about sex and drugs and alcohol. But when somebody is thinking about suicide, they're feeling all alone, unloved, nobody understands them. It is almost impossible for them to come out and say, I'm having thoughts of suicide.
Almost impossible.
Almost impossible. So when you get that feeling that they might be having thoughts of suicide, when you ask them, are you thinking about suicide? It's like giving them permission to talk about it. That it's okay, we can talk about it now.
And you think it's okay to ask the question, are you thinking about suicide?
That is exactly right. And that is exactly how you need to ask the question.
Just point blank.
Point blank. You can ease into it, but
Sure.
you want to ask those words. Not, are you thinking about harming yourself? Because to them, suicide is not harming themselves. It is their solution to end the pain. So if you say, are you thinking about harming yourself? They're going to tell you no, because it's their solution. So you have to ask them, are you thinking about suicide? And when you do that, every time I've asked that question in interventions, you can see the relief wash over the person.
Really?
Yes, because they are wanting somebody to ask them that question. They want to talk about it, but they're just too scared because of the stigma. You know, they don't want to be judged, thrown out, sent away, or people go around saying they're crazy, you know, that they're crazy.
Right.
So when you ask them that question, you give them permission to talk about it. If you ask the question, if I was to ask you, are you thinking about suicide, and you would tell me no, that would not plant the seed of suicide in you.
It would not.
It would not. All the studies show it does not. But obviously you're going through some trouble. That's why I asked you.
Right.
So I'm going to continue to help you with whatever you're going through. Now, if your problems keep going and you start thinking about suicide, you know that you can come to me and talk to me about suicide.
Right.
So
Wow.
it's a win-win situation.
Right. And so what you all are doing is you're putting on a walk.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Tell me about that.
October the 27th, on the courthouse steps in Marksville,
Okay.
we're going to have an Into the Light walk. And that walk is
Enter the light.
Into the light.
Into the light.
Into the light. And that's to help spread mental health
I
awareness.
love it.
And
Into the light.
that's right. And mental health awareness, suicide prevention. This is an opportunity for the Central Louisiana community to come out and learn, get some education on the subject, but to come out and show the people that are suffering in silence that the community does care, we do love them, we do want to help them.
And more importantly, we can have the conversation. We can just ask, as hard as it is to say suicide.
That's it.
We can say, are you thinking of committing suicide?
That's right. That's right.
And don't you think that's the hardest thing to say sometimes?
That is a very hard question to ask. But if you're talking to one of your loved ones or a stranger and you get that gut feeling telling you something is wrong, that's the question you need to ask. And that's what our assist trains you to do, is to ask that question. And what to do if the person says yes, because then
there's a whole other
but it's a very simple model that we teach. Mm-hmm. But getting back to our walk, we're going to have some speakers. The VFW Honor Guard is going to come, raise the flag, say the pledge. We have our ACTS community coming out to sing the national anthem for us. We're going to have popcorn, cotton candy, a fun jump for the little ones. It's a very serious day, but we try to make it fun.
Right, and make it light.
And make it light.
And so what do people need to do to get registered to walk? Is there a registration fee?
The walk is free.
Okay.
The walk is free. You can go to SaveSinlaw.com to register. Go to the projects button, click on it, and then and click on Into the Light. We do have a run, and that run I think is a $30 fee to run. They're going to go first.
And let's talk about the proceeds really quick and how they're going to continue to help.
100%. 100% of the proceeds stay in Central Louisiana. We run billboards, radio, newspaper, magazine ads for prevention, it all stays in Central Louisiana, for Central Louisiana.
Andy, thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank your wife, Angie. Thank Anthony and Jackie and all of those families who have the courage to help other families so that it won't happen to another young person or any person. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I want to thank God for calling Angie and I and Jackie and Anthony to this mission.
Indeed. Hey, everybody, stay on point. We're back after this.